My wife confessed she only married me for money. I confronted her with proof of her affair with her coworker. And when I filed for a clean divorce, her lover ghosted her. She lost her job and now she's couch surfing while I rebuilt my life with someone who actually values me. I'm 32 years old. I work in finance for a consulting firm. And about 8 months ago, my marriage exploded in the most brutal way you can imagine. It wasn't a normal divorce. You know, one of those where people say they just grew apart or wanted different things. No. This was an emotional nuclear bomb that left me standing there, wondering if the last 6 years of my life had been real or just one giant lie. The thing is that now that I have distance from all of this, I can see how blind I was. But at the time, I thought we had a good marriage, or at least a decent one. I guess I should start from the beginning, when I met Jessica in college. I was like 21 years old. She was 22. And we met at one of those boring fraternity parties that I almost never went to. But that day, my roommate dragged me along. Jessica was there with her friends. She was pretty, social, always laughing, and I was the typical serious guy studying accounting and spending weekends working out or watching movies at home. I don't know what she saw in me, honestly, because we were pretty different, but we started dating and things flowed. She said she liked that I was stable, that I had clear goals, that I wasn't like the other idiots who just wanted to get drunk and do nothing with their lives. I felt proud of that. Like, finally someone appreciates that I'm responsible. We got married 3 years after graduating, when I already had a decent job and she was working in marketing for a small company. The wedding was simple. Nothing extravagant because I wanted to save up to buy a house, and she agreed. Or so she said. Looking back, I think that was the first mistake, thinking we wanted the same things. The first 2 years of marriage were good, I guess. I worked a lot, literally left the house at 7 in the morning and came back at 6 or 7 in the evening, sometimes later if there were big projects. Jessica also worked, although her schedule was more flexible, and when I got home she had already prepared dinner or we had ordered food. We watched Netflix, talked about our days, had sex like twice a week, nothing spectacular, but it seemed normal for married people with demanding jobs. We bought a house in the suburbs, a nice 3-bedroom place with a small yard, and I felt like I was doing everything right. You know what I mean? I was building a stable and predictable life that I thought we both wanted. But then, like a year and a half ago, Jessica started to change. At first it was small things, like she would come home later from work saying she had meetings or that she went out for drinks with coworkers. I didn't give it much importance because I trusted her completely. It never crossed my mind that something weird could be happening. But the late arrivals became more frequent. And when I asked her how her day was, she just said it was fine, nothing special, and changed the subject. She started spending more time on her phone, smiling with that smile she used to give me. And when I asked her what was so funny, she said it was just memes from work or gossip with her friends. I wanted to believe her, honestly, because the idea that your wife is lying to your face is something your brain just rejects. It's like too painful to process. I tried to talk to her several times, like, Jessica, I feel like we're distant. We should do something together, go somewhere, reconnect. She always said yes, that it was a good idea. But then when I proposed concrete plans, she had some excuse, that she was tired, that she had pending work, that maybe another day. Sex also practically disappeared. We went from twice a week to maybe once a month if I was lucky, and when it happened it felt mechanical, like she was fulfilling an obligation rather than enjoying it. About a year ago, I decided we needed a drastic change, something to get us out of the routine and remind us why we got married. I booked a cabin in the mountains for a long weekend, a super romantic place with a fireplace, jacuzzi, the whole deal. I told Jessica it was a surprise, and at first she seemed excited, or at least she faked it well. We drove like 3 hours to get there on a Friday afternoon, and the whole way she was on her phone, sending messages and laughing occasionally. I tried to make conversation, but her answers were short, like, yeah, no, that's nice. When we got to the cabin, she said it was pretty, but not with much enthusiasm, and that night we had dinner in silence most of the time. I had bought wine, her favorite, an Argentine Malbec she loved, and after she had like 3 glasses, she started talking more, but not about us or about fixing things, but about her work, her friends, random things. That honestly I didn't care much about at that moment, because I wanted to talk about us. Saturday night, things got ugly. We had gone to a restaurant in the nearby town, and Jessica had like 2 margaritas before dinner, and then wine during dinner. And by the time we got back to the cabin, she was pretty drunk. I was a bit upset because I had planned for that night to be special, like having a real conversation about our marriage, but she just wanted to keep drinking. We opened another bottle of wine I had brought and sat in front of the fireplace, and I finally told her, "Jessica, we need to talk. I feel like I'm losing you, like you don't love me like before." She laughed, literally laughed, and said, "Oh, Daniel, always so dramatic." I told her I wasn't being dramatic, that it was real, that she had been distant for months and I needed to know what was going on. And then, I don't know if it was the alcohol or what, but she just dropped the most brutal truth I've ever heard in my life. She told me, "You want to know the truth? The truth is, I was never really attracted to you. I chose you because you were safe. Because I knew you were going to have a good job and that you were going to take care of me. But you were always boring, Daniel, too predictable, too safe." I sat there unable to process what she had just said. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach, literally couldn't breathe. I asked her, "So why did you marry me?" And she shrugged and said, "Because I thought that over time you would become more interesting, that maybe you would mature and be less, I don't know, less you. But you didn't change. You're still the same boring guy who just wants to work and save money and watch movies at home. I want to live, Daniel. I want to go out, meet new people, do exciting things, and you just want us to stay home like old people." In that moment, something inside me just turned off. You know, like when you flip a switch and everything goes dark. I no longer felt pain or anger, just this strange emptiness, like I was watching the scene from outside my body. I told her, "Okay, Jessica, I understand," and I went to sleep in the guest room. She stayed there in the living room, probably drinking more wine, and I lay in that uncomfortable bed staring at the ceiling, wondering what the fuck had just happened to my marriage. The next day we drove back home in complete silence. Jessica seemed to have a horrible hangover, and I just had nothing to say to her. When we got to the house, she tried to apologize, said she had drunk too much and that she shouldn't have said those things. But I knew that alcohol only brings out the truth that people hide when they're sober. I told her not to worry, that it was fine, and I went to my home office to work. The next few weeks passed, and I basically became a ghost in my own marriage. I stopped trying to have deep conversations with her. I stopped planning dates or surprises. I stopped initiating sex. I basically stopped making any effort. I kept working, paying the bills, maintaining the house, but emotionally I had left completely. Jessica seemed happy with this, honestly, because it meant she had more freedom to do whatever she wanted without me bothering her with questions or attempts to reconnect. Then, like 2 months after the cabin thing, my friend Ryan called me on a Tuesday night. Ryan and I had been friends since college. He was one of the few guys I really trusted, and when I saw his name on the screen, I thought he just wanted to organize something for the weekend. But his tone was serious when I answered, and he told me, "Daniel, I need to tell you something and I don't know how to do it without it sounding horrible." My heart started beating faster, but I told him to tell me whatever it was. Ryan told me that that night he had gone to a bar downtown, a new place that had just opened, and he saw Jessica there with a guy. At first he thought maybe it was someone from work, but then he saw them kissing, like not a friendly kiss but a full tongue kiss, and then they left together. Ryan told me. He hesitated a lot about calling me, but that he felt I had a right to know. That he couldn't stay quiet watching me get cheated on. I hung up the phone and sat on the couch without moving for, like 20 minutes. Jessica still wasn't home. It was like 11 at night and she had said she was going out with her coworkers. I felt this strange calm, like finally everything made sense, like all the puzzle pieces had fallen into place. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't devastated. I was just confirmed in what I already suspected deep down. Jessica got home like at 1 in the morning, smelling of alcohol and perfume that wasn't hers, and when she saw me awake in the living room, she seemed surprised. She asked me why I wasn't asleep, and I said I just wasn't sleepy. She said she was tired and went straight to the bedroom, didn't even try to make up an elaborate story about where she had been or what she had done. And that's when I decided I wasn't going to confront her yet. That first I needed to have concrete evidence and a plan. I checked our bank accounts and saw that she had been spending money on bars, restaurants, and hotels, things that clearly weren't with her friends or for work. I installed an app on my phone to track her location. I know it sounds terrible, but at that point I didn't care about privacy or what was right. I just wanted to know the complete truth. I saw that several nights a week she didn't go where she said she was going, that she ended up in apartments in parts of the city where we didn't know anyone, that she spent hours there before coming back home. One Friday, I decided to follow her physically. I told her I had to work late and left the house before her, but I parked on the street with a view of our entrance. Like at 8 at night, Jessica came out of the house dressed up, like short dress and heels, nothing you would wear to go out with work friends, and got in her car. I followed her, keeping my distance, and she drove like 20 minutes to a bar in a kind of hipster area of the city. I parked a street away and walked to the bar, and through the window I could see her sitting at the bar with a guy. The guy was everything opposite to me, like tall, thin, with tattoos on his arms, long hair down to his shoulders, wearing a tight t-shirt and ripped jeans. He looked like a musician or something. Definitely not the type of person who has an office job or a retirement plan. I watched them laugh, touch each other, and then after like an hour they left the bar together. I followed them at a distance and they went to an apartment building nearby, went in together, and I stayed outside in my car for like 2 hours until finally Jessica came out alone and drove back home. I had taken pictures of everything with my phone. Pictures of them at the bar, entering the building, basically complete evidence of the infidelity. The next day, I contacted a divorce lawyer. I explained the whole situation to him and showed him the photos and the evidence from the location tracking. The lawyer, a guy like 50 years old, who seemed to have seen this 1,000 times before, told me I had a very solid case for divorce and that given we didn't have kids, the process would be relatively simple. He advised me to move most of our shared money into a separate account in my name before serving her the papers, to protect my assets, and to document everything I could about her expenses and her infidelity. I spent the next week doing exactly that. I transferred like 80% of our savings to a new account, organized all the evidence in a physical and digital folder, and basically prepared myself for war. Jessica didn't notice anything, or if she did, she didn't say anything, because she was too busy with her exciting new life. The day I decided to serve her the papers was a normal Tuesday. Jessica got home from work around 6. I was already there waiting for her in the living room with the documents on the coffee table. She came in smiling, probably had a good day or had just talked to her lover, and when she saw me sitting there, her smile faded a bit. She asked me what was wrong, and I just told her, "Sit down, Jessica." She sat on the couch in front of me, still with her bag on her shoulder, and I pushed the papers toward her. I told her, "These are divorce papers. They're ready to sign. I just need your signature on the marked pages." Her face went through like 5 different emotions in 2 seconds: confusion, shock, fear, and then something that looked like panic. She asked me what I was talking about, why I wanted to divorce, and I just told her, "Jessica, I know everything about Brett." That was the guy's name. I had investigated him. "I know you've been seeing him for months. I have photos. I have evidence of your locations. I have the receipts from the hotels and bars. I have everything." Her face went pale. Literally, I saw the blood drain from her face, and she started stammering, trying to explain or deny it, but I raised my hand and told her, "I'm not interested in hearing excuses or justifications. I just want you to sign the papers and we can end this in a civilized way." She started crying, saying it had been a mistake, that Brett didn't mean anything, that she loved me, and that we could fix this. I told her, "Jessica, you told me months ago that you were never really attracted to me, that you only married me because I was safe, and now I find out you've been cheating on me probably since then or before. There's nothing to fix. This is over." She tried to get close to me, but I got up and moved away. I told her she had a week to pack her things and find another place to live, that the house was in my name anyway, and that according to the prenup we had signed, yes, I had insisted on one when we got married. Thanks to my father who advised me to do that, she wasn't entitled to much of what we had accumulated during the marriage. She kept crying and trying to reason with me for like an hour, but I just went to the guest room and locked the door. I heard her crying in the living room for a while, and then I heard her call someone on the phone. Probably Brett or a friend. I lay in that bed knowing I had made the right decision, that staying in a dead marriage with someone who had never really loved me would have been worse than going through the pain of a divorce. The next few days were awkward. Jessica kept trying to talk to me, saying she had ended things with Brett, that she wanted to work on our marriage. But I was already completely closed off emotionally. I had gone through my phase of pain and betrayal in private, on those nights when I stayed awake thinking about all the moments I now saw in a different light, about all the lies I had swallowed like an idiot. Jessica finally packed her things and went to live with a friend. The divorce process took like 4 months. It wasn't complicated because I had all the evidence, and she really didn't have grounds to fight. She kept her car and some of her personal belongings, and I kept the house, most of the savings, and my dignity intact, I guess. During those months, I had no contact with her except through the lawyers, and honestly, every day I felt a little lighter, like a huge weight was being lifted off me. I started going to the gym more often, not because I was trying to impress anyone, but because I needed to channel all that energy I used to spend worrying about my marriage. I looked better, I felt better, and little by little I started going out with friends again. Things I had stopped doing because I thought married men should stay home with their wives. It was at the gym where I met Amanda. She was a spinning class instructor. She was like 29 years old, was independent and had her own life well put together. We started talking casually after classes, and then one day she invited me for coffee. It wasn't forced or intense, just two people getting to know each other. And I was surprised how easy it was to talk to her compared to how it had been with Jessica in recent years. Amanda was direct, said what she thought, didn't play mind games, and that was refreshing. We started going out casually, without labels or expectations, just enjoying time together. She knew I was coming from a recent divorce and was super understanding. Never pushed to define what we were or where this was going, it just flowed naturally. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely attracted to someone, not out of obligation or habit, but because I really enjoyed being with this person. Meanwhile, I started hearing things about Jessica through mutual acquaintances. Apparently, things with Brett didn't go as she expected. After we got divorced, Brett was with her for like 2 months and then completely ghosted her, like stopped responding to her messages and calls, and basically disappeared from her life. Jessica also lost her job. I don't know exactly why, but someone told me it had to do with her attitude and missing a lot, probably because she was too busy with her personal drama to focus on her career. Without a stable job and without her own place, I heard she had been moving between different friends' apartments, like couch surfing, trying to find a new job and basically rebuilding her life from scratch. Part of me felt a bit of satisfaction with this. I'm not going to lie, because it was like instant karma for everything she had done to me. But another part just didn't feel anything. Like Jessica was a stranger whose life no longer concerned me at all. Like 3 months ago, Jessica tried to contact me. She sent me several text messages that I ignored, and then she called me from an unknown number that I made the mistake of answering, thinking it was work. When I heard her voice, my instinct was to hang up immediately. But something made me stay on the line just to hear what she wanted. She told me she was going through a very difficult time, that she didn't have money to pay her rent, that she needed help. She asked me if we could meet to talk, that she had changed and that she understood now what she had lost. I told her very calmly, "Jessica, whatever is happening to you is not my problem. You made your decisions, and now you have to live with the consequences. Just like I had to live with the consequences of trusting you." She started crying on the phone, saying she had no one else to turn to, that her friends were already tired of helping her, that her family didn't talk to her because they were embarrassed about the whole divorce thing. I told her, "You should have thought about that before cheating on me and destroying our marriage." And I hung up. I blocked that number too. Like a month ago, I moved from the house to an apartment downtown. The house had too many memories, good and bad, and I needed a complete change of scenery. The new apartment is smaller but modern, has an incredible view of the city from the balcony, and is close to the gym and good restaurants. Amanda started spending more time there, left some things, and although we haven't officially talked about what we are, it feels like something real and healthy, something built on honesty and genuine attraction instead of convenience and lies. She knows the whole story with Jessica. I was completely transparent from the beginning because I learned that hiding things or pretending the past doesn't exist only causes more problems in the long run. The divorce was completely finalized like 8 months ago, and looking back, I can say with total honesty that it was the best decision I could have made. Yes, it hurt to discover that the person you had planned to spend the rest of your life with never saw you the way you saw them, that you were basically a means to an end, someone stable and boring who could provide, while she looked for excitement elsewhere. But staying in that situation would have been worse. It would have been wasting more years of my life trying to be enough for someone who was never going to value me. Now I'm 32. I have a good job, an apartment I love, an incredible woman who seems genuinely interested in me, and zero unnecessary drama in my life. Jessica, on the other hand, according to the last thing I heard, is still jumping between temporary jobs and living with different friends, still trying to save up enough money for her own place. Last week I was at the gym with Amanda and she asked me if I ever regretted marrying Jessica, if I felt they were wasted years. I told her no, that I didn't see them as wasted years but as necessary lessons. I learned what I don't want in a relationship. I learned not to ignore warning signs. I learned that being stable and predictable isn't boring but valuable, and that the right person is going to appreciate those qualities instead of using them against you. Amanda smiled and kissed me, and told me that she appreciated exactly those things about me, that they made her feel safe in a good way. Not in a way that traps her, but in a way that allows her to be herself, knowing I'm going to be there. And that, I guess, is the difference between being with someone who sees you as a backup plan and being with someone who sees you as a partner. Sometimes I still think about everything that happened, about how a drunk conversation in a cabin in the mountains destroyed the illusion of my marriage and forced me to face a truth I probably should have seen much earlier. But I don't regret how I handled things after that, how I stopped making futile efforts, how I gathered evidence strategically, how I ended everything cleanly and decisively without giving her the chance to manipulate me or convince me to give her another chance. That version of me that let Jessica use me as her safety net while she looked for excitement with other guys doesn't exist anymore, and honestly, good riddance to that version. Life is too short to waste on people who don't value you, and I'm glad I realized that at 30, instead of at 50, after having lost decades in a dead marriage.